The stars are right, and that means it's time for another episode of The Whisper in Darkness. I'm your host, the Man from Lang. Thank you very much for joining me today. On this episode, we are continuing with our reviews of the player cards in the Scarlet Keys Investigator expansion. This is part 3 of our look at the Survivor cards in the box. In this video, we are going to discuss Lifeline, Nature of the Beast, Gumption, Baseball Bat Level 2, and Katya Eastbank. There are spoilers throughout if you care about that sort of thing. If you enjoy what you hear, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Before we get started, a quick reminder of how we rate cards here on The Whisper in Darkness. The best of the best get an Elder Sign, while the worst of the worst get an Auto Fail, and the cards in between get a +1, 0, or Elder Thing respectively. Cards that you build around or cards that are good in one particular deck get a Bless token, while cards that we believe are destined to end up on the list of taboos or are simply bad for the big game get a Curse token. Before we get started, I'd like to thank the patrons of this channel for their tremendous support. You all rock. If you'd like to be amazing like these people and support the channel's goals and see your name on this list, head over to patreon.com, sign up for a tier of your choice, and claim your rewards. That would be awesome. Special thanks to Cole Monroe Chitty, Nicole Fiscus, and Nate Lost in Time and Space for their contributions to the channel. I couldn't do it without you. Without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back, everyone, to our reviews of the player cards in the Scarlet Keys Investigator expansion. This is part 3 of our look at the Survivor cards. We are going to jump right in and take a look at Lifeline. It is a 1-cost event that costs 1 XP, fortune trait, max 1 per turn, fast. Play when an investigator's turn would end. That investigator may take X additional actions during their turn, where X is the number of skill tests they failed during their turn. Exile Lifeline. I really like this card. It fixes really so many different problems that you can run into during a turn that exiling for 1 XP is man. Like, I just think about the times when I've had to like evade, and then I end up with no actions left and I'm stuck with the enemy.
You miss an evade, that's right.
I miss an evade and now I've got the enemy there. And so even if I do evade it, it's just going to re-engage me. Suddenly I throw myself a lifeline and I get an extra action, which gets me to move before it re-engages me. And that's really good. And then, of course, they're fighting the boss at the end. It's just like, oh, I missed my 1 attack. We could end the game if we just hit 1 more time. Oh, here's a lifeline. Game over. Just so many different ways to use this card.
And it gets even stronger in multiplayer because it's an investigator's turn. That investigator does not have to be at your location. So, like, oh my gosh. Okay, so remember, you remember how good, like, way back in the day when we were just young lads with more hair and we were talking about the core set? Remember how awesome how much we were playing up Lucky and how it's like one of the best cards in the game? And then later on, we're going to end up getting to talk about Live and Learn and about how great that is. You miss a test and you get to try it again. I would pay 1 XP and exile a Live and Learn that worked on other people. If X was 1 and it required them to fail, like, I would 9 times out of 10, I would totally buy this card. This card is really good because, like, you can cover the whole team. And you know what? Everybody has a game where, like, you just drew 2 auto fails in a row. And, like, now the game is going from, like, smooth sailing to terrible. Well, this bails you out of, like, a terrible turn because you can, like, recover before the enemies start hurting you and you draw more of them. This card is very good. And also it's the same amount of XP as At a Crossroads, by the way. Just want to go back to the last video for a sec. This is good. At a Crossroads is a lot less good. And they're both the same amount of XP, and they both basically do the same thing, give you more actions.
Yeah, I think even if they had capped X at 1, this would definitely be playable. The fact that it covers you for basically any terrible turn. It's just like, oh, I missed once, fine, here's a lifeline. I missed twice, okay, here's 2. Here's 2 extra actions. God forbid you missed all 3 times. Well, basically take your turn again and we'll see what happens. Yeah, this one gets an Elder Sign from me.
Oh yeah, I agree. This is really good.
So like, good. Yeah.
Yeah,
this is exile cards. I mean, you expect them to be powerful because of the effect that, I mean, you got to repurchase it, but for spending 1 XP for a basically get out of jail free card for the table in multiplayer.
For the table. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and Very important to emphasize that it doesn't matter where the other investigator is. They could be clear across the board, and you can still throw them a very long lifeline, and they will benefit from it. So pretty awesome.
Does it contend with Shed a Light? Does it threaten Shed a Light for the top spot?
I don't think so. Simply because clues are what the game is all about. And so if you're getting the 3 clues without making a test, mind you, I mean, that's super strong. And that advances the board state, and you're going to win. This one is more like, okay, something bad has happened, and now we need a way to recover from it.
Yep.
So
if only I had one more action, or if only I didn't draw those 2 auto fails. Well, here's Lifeline.
We've got another dilemma, so our brains are going to start to hurt here. This one is Nature of the Beast. It is a no-cost event, 1 XP dilemma, insight, max 2 dilemmas per round. Revelation, reveal the top 3 cards of the encounter deck, choose an investigator to draw one of the revealed cards, and discard the rest. Then choose an investigator to discover 1 clue at any revealed location. So this is the one I kind of like in solo. It is sort of like a Drawn to the Flame. Not quite as powerful as Drawn to the Flame in terms of grabbing the clues, but you do get more choice on the encounter card that you're going to get.
Yeah.
Which is nice in solo. If you do hit the bad thing that you don't really want to see, this gets rid of it. And you get a clue from anywhere, which can be useful, especially sort of late game if you've been forced to run a little more than you'd like and you have left stray clues somewhere. Mm-hmm. Or even just to grab a clue at your location so you can move on the next turn. So I kind of like this one in solo for that reason. And discovering Tesla's clues is good for survivors who tend to have low intellect as it is.
So I actually like this one a lot of all the dilemmas, because this one, the benefit is actually pretty straightforward. I mean, we were talking about Shed a Light earlier. You're playing Arkham Horror. There are going to be clues on locations. You're going to want some. Okay, so this one, and again, you make a great comparison to Drawn to the Flame. So Drawn to the Flame, you spend an action to draw an encounter card, just draw a straight up encounter card, and discover 2 clues. This one is you don't spend an action. You pick from the top 3. You discover 1 clue. Yeah, this is pretty good. I also really like in multiplayer, like you can decide of the 3 encounter cards drawn who pulls it. Like it's kind of great. Like you could give an easy enemy to like a guardian, or you can give a rotting remains to the 5 willpower mystic. Like I really like how the cost of this is like very low. So all you're really spending is like, think of it like a fast Drawn to the Flame that only gives you 1 clue. Yeah, but you get to pick which encounter card you get. Like, so this I would play. Like this I think is really good. Yeah. Because it's always useful. And if there are no clues on the board, you've won the game. So so whatever.
Yeah, I've even seen people talking about using this to like feed a clue to somebody who might need it for those effects that hurt you if you don't have a clue. It's just like, oh, the Guardian isn't discovering clues and they're going to get hit by, what is it, Hunter?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Hunting Shadow.
Hunting Shadow. This is like, well, okay, here's a clue. Don't worry about it. We'll deal with it. So this...
This effect is so useful, I would debate spending an action to play it as if it were an event.
Yeah, this one almost makes you wonder whether they're using the word dilemma properly, because there's really doesn't seem to be much downside to, like, you're not really picking between picking between 2 bad things. It's just like, we get a clue and an encounter card that we can probably deal with, unless you get incredibly unlucky and draw like the 3 worst encounter cards in the deck,
But that's great if you draw the 3 worst encounter cards in the deck, because you've gotten rid of 2 of them.
That's true. That's true. How would you rate this one?
I'd give this one a +1. I think this is very good. Yeah, I'd give this a +1. I'd play this.
Yeah, I'd give this one a +1 as well. I'm always looking for ways in my survivor decks to to get testless clues because, I mean, Old Keyring is amazing and all, but it does have limited actions and charges. And sometimes you just need a way to get a clue to get the game rolling. And this potentially can get that from right off the bat as long as your starting location has clues, and most of them do. So yeah, I wouldn't have a problem putting this one in my deck. The next card we're going to talk about is Gumption. It is a skill with costs 1 XP. Innate, max 1 committed per skill test. You may commit Gumption to any type of skill test. While Gumption is committed to a skill test, that test gets -2 difficulty. So this is fantastic if you can reduce the difficulty of the skill test to 0, because then barring a tentacle, you're on easy street. Obviously, this synergizes with whatever Daryl's doing with his evidence and exploit weakness and shed a light and stuff like that. It's kind of like the reverse. I've seen this point made. It's like the reverse Unexpected Courage, where Unexpected Courage gives you 2 wild skill icons. This one gives you no icons but reduces the test by 2, which in some cases is actually better than 2 icons.
Yeah, like for example, let's say you're dealing with a difficulty 2 test, and you have like a 3 in willpower. This actually reduces to 0, so it's almost like it covers the -3s and it covers the -4s in the bag and the various symbols in the bag as well. So it's like it's like an Unexpected Courage, but sometimes better. Yeah, like you literally just said. So I just repeated what you said. It's pretty good and probably worth the 1 XP, because you know how much we love Unexpected Courage here at the Whisper in Darkness. Yeah,
that's right. And of course, you've got your. You've got an investigator like Silas who can commit this. It's like, oh, I didn't need it. Fine. I'll yank it back and play it again some other time. So I believe the innate trait synergizes with True Survivor, so you can get this back as well, if I'm not mistaken. So
it's true. You can recycle it. I've seen this played really well in Preston Fairmont, because it lets him pass all sorts of things because he only has a 1 in a stat, and then Gumption covers like the whole bag, against low difficulty tests. I think this is quite good. I think even without going down specifics, like in generic investigators, like, I mean, I'm a big fan of 2 wilds for anything. So spending an XP for Unexpected Courage copy 3 and copy 4, like it's I'd consider it at least. Yeah.
I think Calvin could probably get some good value out of this too.
Oh, that's right.
Depending on what his skills are at the time, it's like, oh, okay, I've got a 1 in combat. Well, I still have Gumption to see me through until I can.
Or for evasion, I think that's pretty useful. For you evading difficulty 2 things, even though he only has a 1 evade at the time. Yeah, I like it.
How would you rate this one?
I think I'd give this a +1. But only because it's an XP. If it were 0 XP, it'd be incredible. But you still have to pay for it, so it's a +1.
I'm gonna go Elder Sign. I haven't given many Elder Signs. I really like this one.
Good. Yeah. It enables the whole deck type of like difficulty reduction. This is kind of important. I wish you could have 4 of this if you were playing the difficulty reduction deck. Because it seems so key.
I could even just see this even in a non-difficulty reduction deck. This is still really good, and your deck isn't going to get worse by any stretch of the imagination, which is entirely possible with some of the dilemmas that we've seen.
That's true.
You can certainly cause those things to screw up, and timing is not an issue with Gumption. So couple good cards in a row here for the survivors. The next card is Baseball Bat. This is the upgrade for the core set classic, featuring the new baseball bat art. So no creepy grandma on this one.
I like the curlers.
2 cost asset, 2 XP, 2 combat skill icons, item, weapon, and melee trait. As an action you fight, you get +2 combat for this attack. This attack deals +1 damage. If a skull or auto-fail symbol is revealed during this attack, either choose 1, return baseball bat to your hand after this attack, or This attack deals an additional +1 damage. Discard baseball bat after this attack, and it takes up 2 hand slots. I have always really liked baseball bat. It is a very strong survivor weapon for 2 cost. Gives you bonus damage, gives you a pretty sizable combat boost. The biggest issue has always been, it takes up 2 hands, which is sometimes problematic, especially in Survivor, where they're not great. They don't have great intellect, so you usually need like a flashlight or something like that, and this interferes with that. And it has a tendency to break, which is problematic, especially if it happens when you're not ready for it to happen. You're fighting an enemy where you need to attack it twice. This thing breaks on the first hit, and then you're like, well, now what do? I can't finish this enemy off, and then you're in trouble. This gives you some flexibility in dealing with that. You can either bounce the baseball bat back to your hand, or you can deal +1 damage. So now it's dealing 3 damage attacks. I really want to like this card. The issue I have with it is it doesn't really do anything that the level 0 baseball bat does until you draw the token.
I was about to say the same thing.
You get an extra combat skill icon. That's about it. Yeah. But other than that, it's exactly the same. And the reason we're spending XP on weapons is usually to get more damage. And this doesn't do that unless you're going to break it. So why would I upgrade necessarily?
Exactly. You could go through the whole game, and this has happened to me because I've been playing baseball bat lately. You can go through a whole game without drawing any skulls or auto fails, and then in that situation, this has done nothing for its XP. And then when you do draw an auto fail or a skull, the problem with this is that you don't always need the additional damage, which is like one use of the 2 XP is to give yourself the 3rd damage, given that the baseball bat's already breaking, or you send it back to your hand, and the game has gone on long enough that I already have my 2nd baseball bat. And, so sending it back to my hand doesn't do anything because I already had a 2nd baseball bat anyway, or because if I'm playing a weapon user, I have more weapons, and I've already drawn a 2nd one. If I could, return it to my hand and then play it again for 0, I'd feel better about it. But just the fact that it returns to your hand, it's like, so what? I could have just drawn another level 0 baseball bat in the meantime, and then everything's okay. Yeah, I don't like this card because, and I think what the main strike against this card is that Survivor's gotten some really good no strings attacks weapons over the years, like 18 Derringer level 2 and Chainsaw. Yeah, and honestly, if I'm playing weapons in Survivor, I'd rather just spend my XP on things like the Chainsaw or the Ornate Bow, or the one from Edge of the Earth, the Enchanted Bow, or 18 Derringer. I'd spend XP on those and not spend XP on something where the XP may or may not even mean anything.
Yeah, see, the last time I played baseball bat was in a Rita Young deck, and I was upgrading to the bow, out of the baseball bat to the bow. So of course, the first question I asked myself is, am I still upgrading to the bow? And the answer is yes, because the bat doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it gives you a little more flexibility in terms of when it does break, but like you said, that may never happen, and you may have another bat in your hand at the time. Now you've got, I guess you get the 2 combat skill icons. That's nice. I like what they've done here in that you could return the bat to your hand, because I think it would open up some play. Like if it wasn't restricted to drawing the token, so you could pull the bat back to your hand. So you're like, okay, I'm using the bat. It hasn't broken. Okay, now I need to do some investigating. Now I want the bat back in my hand. I could see it having a lot of utility in that sense, especially when you're just starting the game. But just relying on a token pull for that, it's just too random to work. It's just like, okay, I'm especially in solo, it's like, okay, I'm fighting. Okay, I don't need to fight anymore. Okay, I want to investigate, so I need my flashlight. Bounce the bat back, play the flashlight, and away you go. But I could see that working, just not on a token pull. So how would you rate this one?
Auto fail. Spend your XP on other things.
Yeah, man, do I give it an auto fail? No, I'm not going to go that low. I'm going to go Elder Thing. It's not great. Well, actually, yeah, maybe it is an auto fail. I just
18
don't.
Derringer.
Yeah,
There's 18 Derringer. Yeah, that has no downsides.
yeah. This is. You're probably, if you're upgrading a weapon, it's not to mitigate a downside of the level 0 version. It's to get more damage or more abilities or something like that, and this doesn't do that. So I don't think you're buying the baseball bat. I probably won't. So stick to better weapons. Baseball bat 0 is pretty good, but the level 2 version is doesn't really cut it. We have talked a lot about Katya Eastbank, keeper of esoteric lore, over this review series. Again, we always end up in this situation where it's like there's some card
just waiting in the wings that we haven't reviewed yet.
That we should have reviewed first. Mm-hmm. And but here we are. Katya Eastbank is a 3-cost ally. 2 XP, willpower and intellect skill icons, ally and scholar trait. As a response, when you draw a non-weakness card from the top of your deck, before resolving any of its effects, exhaust Katya Eastbank, place that card face down beneath her, limit 5 cards beneath her, draw a new card to replace it, or as an action, you can draw any card beneath Katya Eastbank. Now, obviously, Katya synergizes with the dilemmas because her ability triggers before you resolve the effect, so you can stack dilemmas underneath her and then draw them when it best suits you. Oh, I forgot to mention she has 2 health and 2 sanity, which is also good because she's not vulnerable to ally hate necessarily, which is something you want if you're stacking a bunch of cards underneath her. And if she had 1 health or 1 sanity, man, that would just feel awful. She does give you a sort of a second bite at the apple with your draw. It's like, okay, I drew something. I don't need it this turn. Draw something else. That can be handy. She doesn't give skill bonuses, though, which is usually why you're playing an ally. And there are some dynamite survivor allies in this game. Peter, Jessica. So how does Katya fit into the mix?
I do like the fact that you can she acts as kind of like a reverse forced learning, where you draw the card, decide you don't need it, and then draw a different card. And I think the game could do with a few more cards like that. I think that's kind of cool. Where you can tuck it for just the fact that you can tuck any card for later is kind of neat, actually. And then later on, you're effectively taking a draw action to draw one of the cards you tucked away if you ever need it. And I think that's kind of cool. I wish this was not an ally. I wish it was a permanent, because they want us to play dilemmas and they want us to play Katya. So why don't they just make it a permanent like they did for Sin Eater? You got to find the Katya, and then you got to play the Katya, and only then can you start drawing your dilemmas, or else they're gonna misfire. And then what about all the dilemmas you draw before you've gotten Katya into play? And then at some point you realize that Peter Sylvester adds 2 stats and gives you infinite horror soak, and then you go oh man, why am I playing Katya when I can just play Peter Sylvester? If she gave an intellect, I'd feel better, something. Yeah.
I do really like her for that ability to tuck away cards. I feel like that's something the game has been lacking, because as we've seen over the course of the reviews going all the way back to the core set, there are quite a number of cards in this game that are situationally useful, and we don't play them because they're situationally useful, and we have no way of timing them properly. Katya gives you that chance. It's okay, I'm just going to say lure because it was the only card in my mind, but you draw your lure. Okay, I don't need lure right now. I tuck it under. Oh, now I need lure, and suddenly you've got it. So it's kind of like what Stick to the Plan did for Guardians, because suddenly you have a way of stacking all the goodies under the Stick to the Plan. The problem is Stick to the Plan is a permanent, so you get the cards right at the start. Katya is not. You have to find her the hard way.
I wish Katya... Yeah, I really wish she was almost like a survivor Stick to the Plan, where a Stick to the Plan that started with 0 cards, and then but you tuck things under it as you drew them, like that would be where I'd pay 6 XP for that. You know, like I basically get 5. So like the survivor stick to the plan. It'd be like it's basically giving me 5 cards worth of value because it's giving me 5 additional draws. Okay, and then when I do need the card, I can spend an action to get it back into hand. I've been playing Forced Learning like nonstop since it came out in Edge of the Earth because I agree with you that there are a lot of cards in Arkham Horror, the card game, that are kind of situational, and when I draw them, I don't always need them, which is why I love Forced Learning so much. Because if I draw and I don't need it, I can take the other card that was drawn to me, and that's a permanent, and I love it. I wish Kachi was the same way. Like you start with her in play, and then it's like I draw this card, don't need it, get something else. Like that'd be super cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you gotta find her, and you gotta not play Peter Sylvester. It's like,
or you're investing a lot more XP in order to provide extra ally slots. And I mean the big difference, while she does have two health and 2 sanity, I mean stick to the plan and Forced Learning and the other permanents can't be targeted by removal effects, whereas you just need to draw 1 Crypt Chill at the wrong time and Katya goes boom, and then your
cards go away.
You've lost whatever was underneath her. You've lost her, whatever was underneath her. If you're playing some sort of combo deck that relies on the combo coming out in the right order and you tucked a couple of cards under her, suddenly your combo's gone. Like if she was permanent, that would solve a lot of the issues that
also, like, one thing I don't like is how it feels, and I think that some of the Mystic cards suffer from this too, is that if the keystone to like launch the deck type costs XP. So what do you do for the first couple of scenarios of the game? Do you just not play the dilemmas at all? And then do you spend 1 XP per dilemma to stick them in your deck once you have Katya? Like, it's kind of dumb. It's like survivors don't have adaptable. They can't repair their deck, after they've started. So it's almost like I wish Katya cost 0 and then the dilemmas cost XP. Like the things so like the idea is the foundation costs 0 XP, and then the things you add on to the foundation would cost XP. That's what I kind of wish they did. But like this way, it's like you're waiting until scenario 3 or 4 to even start your deck. Your dilemma deck that you wanted to build.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that during some of our dilemma reviews, is that you're playing these dilemmas at level 0, whereas the thing you actually need to play them effectively really doesn't come until scenario 3, 2, 3. And then, like, is Katya the first thing I'm buying from my deck?
It's like, a tax at that point.
Like, to me, it's like, okay, I get to draw better.
Which is nice.
But is it enough is the question. And when you've got allies that are giving you skill boosts that immediately help you, that's a tough decision. I mean, I like her and I like what she does. I
like the effect. I just wish they like implemented it differently. Yeah. I like this I like this survivor stick to the plan idea though. I think that'd make a fun custom card. Yeah.
So how would you rate Katya?
Elder thing.
That low?
Yeah, in a survivor. I think if you're playing someone who I think if you're playing a seeker, she gets better. Because card draw combos with more card draw. But the thing, I think the problem is like she's not actually a survivor card; she's a seeker card.
I think I'm going to give her a 0. I don't think
that's appropriate.
I don't feel like going.
It's because of Peter Sylvester.
Yeah, well, I mean, Peter is like a curse, really.
Okay, all right. Tell you what. If Peter Sylvester level 2 is a curse, then she becomes a 0. All right, I'll give you that. I'll change mine to 0, knowing that Peter Sylvester is a god.
Yeah. Okay. He's like, if you put him at curse and then maybe Jessica at like elder sign +1 territory, I think Katya comes in at a 0. Like, she's not the worst ally in the world. She does help your deck.
I like the effect.
Just not in a skill boosting way. You're getting something different from her than other allies. And if you buy her knowing that, well then, or if you have a specific goal in mind for your deck and she's going to help smooth that out a little, then I can definitely see reasons to pick her up. So zeros across the board for Katya Eastbank. That's going to do it for part 3 of our look at the Survivor cards in the Scarlet Keys Investigator expansion. Let us know in the comments down below what you think. Have you had any experience playing Katya? How did she work out for you? Any final thoughts?
Man, this video was a wild ride, wasn't it? We were just all chuffed over Lifeline, and then we were like, oh my gosh, we found like a dilemma that we actually want to play with Nature of the Beast. We were like, sweet, gumption, sounds amazing. We at the Whisper in Darkness love just generic, 2-point swings to skill tests. And then we're like, what the hell did they do with baseball bat? And then Katya, we just went off on like a philosophical diatribe about like the nature of time and space. And we didn't have Nate here to like bring us back into reality. And I don't know if I can take much more of this. I need to go play a Peter Sylvester and heal some sanity.
That's going to do it for this episode. If you enjoyed what you hear, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you need to contact me, I can be reached at manfromlang@gmail.com. I'm also on Twitter at manfromlang. Until the stars are right, keep your shotgun close and your elder sign closer. Take care out there, and happy investigating.